Hi, I'm Susan Esri with Delicious Living magazine. I'm here with Dr. Alan Greene, very well-known pediatrician and author. Most recently, tell me the correct title.
It's called Feeding Baby Green.
Okay.
And it's a simple guide for teaching babies to love great food.
Great.
The delicious living starts early.
Great. So an important idea in this book is food imprinting or nutrition intelligence. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Sure. One of my heroes is a guy named Conrad Lorenz, and he was the guy who first described imprinting in animals as a way to learn. And he'd started doing it with baby geese. And the first moving object they would see, they will imprint on. And what happens is they get this little rush of endorphins. They feel really happy when they see this thing move. It's usually mom. And then when mom walks away, the endorphins fall. They don't feel okay, so they toddle after, and the endorphins come back, and very quickly they fall in love with her. And they'll follow her everywhere. They'll imitate her. It's fantastic. But you can trick the imprinting. If the first moving object they see is a toy train, they will imprint on the toy train. And they will follow that around. And if mom is reintroduced and she squawks at them and honks and nudges them, they'll ignore her. It's this really sad thing that happens. And actually, when they grow up, they'll even try to mate with the toy train. And geese mate for life. This is not a good thing. So what we've learned in the last decade is that human babies learn our food preferences. We all learn our food preferences through a very similar process of imprinting. It's not a one-shot deal like the goose, the very first thing you taste. Thankfully, it takes a bunch of times to be exposed to things we see and hear and taste and touch. But we learn how much to eat, we learn what foods we're going to like, the sources of food we like, and our metabolisms are even set all by imprinting over a 34-month window. And so Feeding Baby Green is about how it's really easy to have your kids imprint on loving great foods, being their comfort foods.
So the key of what somebody should do when they have a baby is...
Well, it used to actually always just work. Back when my dad was born, there was no such thing as baby food. And all that kids ate was what their parents ate. And, you know, moms ate when they were pregnant, and imprinting starts during pregnancy. The babies have more taste buds before they're born than any other time in life. And it continues on through nursing, and then when they would start eating, it was the same food the family ate, just mashed up or ground up through all the generations of human history up until the 50s or so. When by then, by the time I was born, most babies had jarred baby food. And they started this path that separated out and kids' meals and the whole thing that was different from what the family ate. And most kids in the U.S. today imprint on large amounts of processed flavors that are chemically laden, and that's what feels normal.
Okay, so we should be introducing more
introduce
whole
real
foods.
food, right, early on. So, and the key is to do it enough times. So it takes between like 6 months and 13 months, that part of the window. If they taste something 6 to 10 times, they're likely, not all the time, but they're likely to imprint on the flavor, about 85% odds. But most moms will give up on a flavor after just 5 times or less. 94% of moms will give up by 5 times because they think, oh, they don't like broccoli or they don't like peas. But it's not that. They're built to learn. You don't want them to imprint the first couple times because it might be Lego block or something they fall in love with.
Okay, great. So don't give up.
So don't give up is a real key thing. And lots of spice and lots of flavor. I mean, feel them the real stuff.
Okay.
And you don't have to be afraid of allergies. A lot of people are scared. Pediatricians are still saying wait 3 to 5 days between each individual food, and the science doesn't support that. Feed them varieties of stuff. Spices are good. Be careful because they have more taste buds than we do, so you don't want to be too heavily spiced. But real stuff, and there's no reason to hold off because of allergies after 6 months on anything, peanuts, fish, shellfish. The only things to hold off on are the foods that might cause an infection, such as honey, or things you wouldn't eat when you're pregnant, like the raw unpasteurized cheeses or sushi or that kind of stuff, because of infection, but not for food reasons.
Great. Well, that's a wonderful tip. I hope that mothers can follow that advice.
Yeah, and the book describes sort of month by month all the way through how to get kids to transition from one stage to the next, because there's this other thing that happens in kids called neophobia, and it starts right after they start walking, and it gets more and more for the next couple of years, and that's the actual fear. They have a phobia of new foods. So it's not like the mother goose that tries to get their attention, they ignore it. Our kids resist it. They reject stuff that they didn't imprint on. And it makes sense. You wouldn't want a toddler to walk out in the woods, pick a berry, and eat it because it might be poisonous, or a leaf, it might be really bad for them. So unless they're led step by step in the natural process, they'll end up really rejecting and only eating a small, narrow range of stuff.
Wow, it's really fascinating. So start early with real food.
Start early with real food.
Okay.
Delicious living from the start.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great being with you today.
Okay.